college football. Little college football was a little slow, I would say, over the weekend. There was a lot of big games, not very too many exciting. Some of the best games were played earlier, while some of the games with a lot of controversy were played later on. So let's go ahead and talk about the noon slate. The noon slate games had some great games. Bama and Missouri was a great game, 27-24. Bama won that game very much, controlling in the second half. Ty Simpson looked amazing. He was leading them down the field. He was making correct passes. He has proven to be a guy that teams might look at possibly going into either this year's draft or next year's draft as a guy that they might want to start and maybe and not be a first round pick, but he might be a guy that gets drafted second round. He's very much a good quarterback. I love his play style. I love how he's able to control the field. He has bounced back so much since losing to Florida State week 1. He looks like a different quarterback. He looks like a guy that's going to be a winner for some sort of team. Now, the next game, Pitt versus Florida State. Pitt absolutely wins the game 34-31. Florida State has fallen off so much after losing to Virginia, Miami, and now Pitt. There's a chance there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think Norvell, head coach of Florida State, could be, I'm not saying he's in a hot seat, but could be in a hot seat if they lose another, I would say, big game. Now, I remember that this was like a big talk when last year you had DJ Ugalele as starting quarterback. Season didn't go as planned. The season was going well until they played Virginia, then Miami, and now Pitt. There's a little bit, I would say, concerns for that team because Tommy Castellanos is missing some of these wide open wide receivers, and it is a problem for that team, and it's probably going to continue to be a problem. So Florida State needs to get something together to possibly, I would say, win a bowl game. They've gone 3-3 for this year, and they need to do something to get back. Now, the next game that was really interesting was UCF and Cincinnati. Cincinnati won 20-11. Cincy has looked really good these past 2 weeks. Last week being Iowa State, this week being UCF. UCF's not a really good school, but very good for Cincinnati on their part. They have bounced back as well after a couple losses this year. They bounced back with some pretty decent wins over some of these teams, so don't be shocked if Cincy makes a good push for a bowl game during this time of the year. Excuse me. Now, Washington State, Ole Miss. This game had very interesting take on it because it was game plan at 12:45. Washington State goes into Ole Miss. Ole Miss, you think, is probably favored by, in this game, 21 points. Ole Miss wins it 24. Was it 24-27? I think you have 24. It was a 3-point swing in that game. Ole Miss won it, but even then, Ole Miss did not look good. They've had their backup quarterback starting since week 2, and it was 24-21. So Ole Miss needs to, I think, get something together a little bit. They're still in the top 25 ranked team, but losing almost to Washington State, who is a very bad school, it is something you do not want to have happen for your team because Ole Miss is a team that's a potential team to go to the SEC championship, even the playoffs as well. They are a team that's in that hunt. You have one, I would say, really bad loss to a team that either is in conference or even out of conference. There's something that can swing them to be propelled out. Because going down the line here, because this is going to be week 8 coming up for this Saturday, there's a chance that something bad could happen, and a week 8 loss or even week 9 loss can propel your team out of the top 10, depending on how much you lose and how big of a game it can impact. So Ole Miss has got to, I think, still lock things down, figure out the quarterback problem there too. Maybe go back to Simmons, who was the starter at the beginning of the year, or keep your guy right now who's a transfer as your starting quarterback. But they got to get something figured out there. So that's a big thing to talk about. And now let's get into the afternoon games. These games were absolutely, I would say, some of the best games. Specifically, one of the best ones I watched, IU Oregon. I had no doubt, actually, IU would lose that game. I was watching, remember going back and watching Oregon, Penn State, how Oregon's defense was, how their offense was, and I thought to myself is IU's defense has gotten better from last year to this year, and so is their offense. Their offense, I would say, it's not explosive, but they can get the ball down the field much more, I would say, thoroughly than they did last year. The run game was decent, but the passing game, I'll say this: Oregon was letting IU throw outside the numbers. Surratt was open on the outside. I would say every single time he ran an out route, a little 7 to 10 yard out route, he was wide open, and Mendoza would hit him. I would say as well that game right there, I think, kind of proves now who's the front runner for the Heisman. Mendoza and Moore were their numbers were good, have been close all season. This game kind of propelled Mendoza into being more of the front runner for the Heisman. Now, I don't know how it's going to look still in the year, but as of right now, Mendoza is the front runner. I would say Moore is number two, and number three, I would throw Ty Simpson in there at number three. But those three quarterbacks right now, I would say, are your Heisman front runners still. It's going to, it could change. I know last week was week 7 over the weekend, so it can change week 8, it can change week 9, it can change week 10, 11, 12. But as of right now, if the season ended today, Fernando Mendoza would win the Heisman. And IU moving up to the top 3 spot, they have not been a top 10 team in over a couple decades. They've not reached this level of being in that top 10 spot, in a spot that they could win a national championship. This team is, I would say, better than last year. This is probably their best team, honestly, in a long, long time. Under this head coach, they can win a national championship if they can keep how they've done everything the first 6 weeks to the next 6 weeks and even into Big Ten championship. If they continue winning how they are, they're going to make a chance to. They're going to make the Big Ten championship if they win the out still, no matter what. If they win out the rest of the year, they're going to make the Big Ten championship. Even if they lose the Big Ten championship, they're still in the playoffs. Will they win the playoffs? I think they can. I think they could beat some of these teams that are in the top 10. Now, will it happen? We'll see. It's just something that's going to have to come along down the line when they get into playoffs versus regular season. But I think IU can actually win this year in the playoffs. I don't know how far they're going to go, but they are playing like a top 3 team right now. And I think they can continue to play like a top 3 team to end this year and go into the playoffs. But we will see how that goes. Now, the next game, Oklahoma, Texas. Red River rivalry. John Mateer comes back to play for Oklahoma. Doesn't work in Oklahoma's favor. It was not a good game for John Mateer. He came back 17 days out of having hand surgery on the finger that he broke, and I think he got rushed to come back for this game. I think he needed to wait one more week. I think they would have been fine with their backup. Mateer was very much rushed. Passing game was not all there. They looked very sluggish, I would say. Texas looked decent first half. Second half, they came out and absolutely exploded. And I think Texas, as I think a little bit improved after losing to Florida the previous week. I think they look so much better than what they did the previous few weeks. Now, you got Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech still proving, I think, teams in the ACC that they are a good team. This is probably, I would say, Georgia Tech's best year. They won 35-20. I think Georgia Tech can be such a good team to end this year. I think they can make the playoffs. And I think they might be a team to upset Miami in the ACC championship. I know it sounds crazy, but I think they are a team that could 100% upset Miami, mainly because this is a team that has been shaped and molded the past 3 years under Brent Key. He has made this team better. This team has been together the past 3 years. They've lost a couple players, but they keep gaining guys in recruitment, a couple transfer portal players. But they are a team to watch in case something were to happen. So it's going to be very interesting on what happens for Georgia Tech the rest of the year. But they are a team to watch for a chance to make the playoffs and to get to the ACC championship and maybe possibly upset Miami. It's going to be a hard game though, but I think they're a team to watch for the ACC. Now, one of the next few games that happened during that hour too, North Carolina State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a couple few plays in the first half. It was kind of tied game 2, 7-7. Then Notre Dame kind of explodes. They win at 36-7, but they have got to, I think, their defense has got to get a little better. Their offense is good. The defense is the main problem right now, and it has been for kind of the past few weeks. I know they've only allowed a touchdown the past 2 weeks, but they have got to lock in a little bit and improve a little on defense. Hopefully they can get some, I would say they mainly need corners. So maybe next year in transfer portal or even recruitment, they get some corner or players, so cornerbacks. So we'll see how that goes for them. This was a very shocking game between Iowa State and Colorado. I couldn't believe Colorado actually upset Iowa State. They won 24-17. Big major upset for Colorado, especially with the way the team has played this year. They've not played their best. They haven't really played really good the past few years. Even when Shador was starting and Travis Hunter, they weren't playing their best. But this year they've really gone downhill. They hadn't been a team to be in talks about making a bowl game or anything. But upset like this was very good for them. I think it can muster something so they can get to a bowl game this year like they did last year. So we'll see how that goes for them this year. Excuse me. Now, this game set off a fire on what happened to this team. Northwestern Penn State. I could not believe. Actually, I could believe, but I couldn't believe that Northwestern won 22-21 over Penn State. Mind this too. Aller got hurt, but even then, I don't think that would have mattered because Northwestern just kept pushing Penn State back. They kept pushing them back. They kept scoring points. Winning 22-21 over Penn State, it was not good for Penn State. And a lot of bad things happened to Penn State. Aller got hurt. And after the loss of that game, which I'm going to go more depth in on here in a minute, is James Franklin got fired. And that is going to set a fire for that team because now Penn State has to make a decision either during the playoffs or after the playoffs for other teams to decide who's going to be their next head coach. And that's going to take some time because you're going to have to figure out who you're going to like and who you're going to want. And I'm going to talk about possible candidates for that job because I have a couple of team guys I figured out who I think could take it, but I'm not sure if they'll go there. But that's what I'm going to talk about a little later on. One of the last few games during that 3 o'clock hour was Arkansas-Tennessee. Arkansas put up a good fight, but Tennessee still pulled up to win 34-31, even after firing their head coach, after losing to Notre Dame real badly in the previous weeks. Arkansas still has a little fight in them. I don't think it's enough fight, but Tennessee would have lost this game, it would have, I think, been a little controversy as well because you're losing to a team that fired their head coach and has an interim head coach who was the former head coach as well back in 2008 through 2011. So very interesting there. Nebraska beat Maryland 34-31. Nebraska, they're not that bad of a team, but Dylan Raiola, he's a guy that scares me a little bit because he's a little reckless. And he tries to be like Patrick Mahomes as well. And everything he does is like Patrick. And I'm like, if I was the head coach of Nebraska, I would have yanked him by the jersey and said, dude, be yourself. Stop trying to be like a dude that you want to be like. Be your own dude. Have some of his aspects in there. Don't try to be like him, because some of the stuff he does, it annoys me a little bit. I'm not a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, but don't try to act like another quarterback that's in the pros. Add a little of his aspect to the game, some of his throwing mechanics, all that stuff. Don't do his whole technique. He does it at all. And he threw just as many touchdowns as he did interceptions in that game too. So, yeah, he's he's a very questionable, I would say, quarterback prospect looking into next year's draft. Not this year's, next year's. He's going to be in next year's. He's a very interesting, I would say, quarterback. I wouldn't call him good. I wouldn't call him bad, but he's somewhere in the middle for sure. Now, like I said, Penn State, they fired Franklin. We're going to talk about that right now. They fired Franklin. There's three, I would say, main coaches I would look at to take that job if I'm Penn State. If I'm looking at coaches, possible guys that don't make the job, that don't make the playoffs, or even if they make a bowl game, these are three coaches I would personally call. I'd call Brent Key of Georgia Tech. He's had very good success the past 3 years. He has built a program up, and I think he's ready to take a job at a bigger school. I would say that's one of your main guys to call. I'd call Matt Campbell out of Iowa State. He's improved Iowa State a lot. I think he's a guy you should call. In the last one, I would call Tulane's head coach as well. He has been improving Tulane the past couple years. Tulane has improved so much that I feel like if I were Penn State, I look at one of those three. I would even throw Texas Tech's head coach in there after the success they just had this year. It has been something that has been also brewing for a little bit. I don't know if he would leave his job, though, Texas Tech's head coach, or some of these coaches, but those would be 3 or 4 coaches I would look at. And Aller's injury as well is not good. It was an ankle injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the year, pretty much season over. Now he's going to go to the draft. This hurts his stock a little too. I think he's going to fall. I don't know how far he's going to fall, but he's going to fall a pretty decent way. He's not going to probably be able to start throwing until February, maybe end of January. So he might have time to be able to stand and throw, but the mobility is going to be a big thing because he's got to be able to still prance around to throw. So Franklin getting fired, Allard getting hurt, hurts Penn State. Got to find a new head coach. They have got to do something after what happened over the weekend. As well, very excited for IU being top 3. Haven't been that in, I think, a long time, or even, I don't even know if they even grasp being that high. I don't even know how high IU has ever been in the top AP polls, but being number 3 is phenomenal for them. I think Signetti's doing a great job. I know Sig is a name to also that has been thrown around that could be that Penn State job, but a guy who's building a program here loves it here too. He loves it. He loves it here in Indiana. I don't know if he would leave, even if Penn State threw him a wad of cash. I think IU would counter, and I think he would stay because I feel like IU would be willing to counter whatever offer, and I imagine there was already a talk probably after they saw Sig's name. I imagine IU's AD went and probably talked to Sig and asked him his opinion and everything, but I'm not there in any room or even go to the school, so I would never know. That's just an opinion or assumption. I just don't know, but if I were Signetti, I'd still stay at IU. I just think what he's building here could be something special for the next however many years he wants to stay here until he says, yep, I'm retiring. Call this guy, he's going to take my job. And I think that's how it's going to go. Now, the night games. These games were, not great. And I have frustration over one of them because I watched one of them and I was very frustrated with how it's officiated. And that one was Georgia-Auburn. Even though Georgia wins 20-10, the final score for this game should have been not even 2010. Auburn Auburn mainly one of the main things I'll talk about is Auburn had scored at the 1 yard line. The ball very much barely the end tip of the ball. Even the announcers, even people during halftime, they were showing the ball. Jackson Arnold has the ball. The ball very much this part of it, just this part of it, crosses the goal line and is a touchdown. But the refs reviewed. They tried to find some minor point to confirm that it wasn't a touchdown, that it was a fumble recovered by the defense. They tried every single bit of a way to find a way that it was fumble recovery by the defense. I think the stoppage was over, 5 minutes long just to make the decision. It was a long decision on that. And that wasn't just one of the bad things. Like, all game, there were some bad calls, bad missed calls, bad stoppage, review, stop, review. Another point in that game very annoyed me, and I want to talk about it that part later because I want to get through the rest of these. But there's a point in that game that absolutely annoyed me by Kirby Smart, and I'm going to go in depth on it after I go over these next few games. Florida, Texas A&M. Texas A&M beats Florida. I think Texas A&M's got a good chance to also make the playoffs and win the SEC. I don't know about Natty. I don't think they are that good of a team to win a national championship, but they are that good of a team to make the playoffs. And maybe SEC championship, depending on how the rest of the year goes. Right now, the SEC championship looks like it's going to be between Ole Miss and Texas A&M, but we'll see how that goes. Kansas, Texas Tech. Texas Tech, like I said, they are a good team, absolutely phenomenal. They're a top 10 team. The Red Raiders are going to keep dominating teams. They won 42-17 over Kansas, and I think they're just going to keep doing well. I think they're going to win the Big 12. But I don't know. Arizona State could win that too. I still think it's going to be a good game whenever they play. Purdue, Minnesota was a good game, 27-20. Minnesota won it. I think Minnesota will continue to be a very good team, but they might make a bowl game. Purdue's got locked down a little bit too, and if they could win a couple more games, I think they could win a bowl game, but make a bowl game maybe, but I don't know if they could win one. I know they can probably make one if they can lock it down, but I think their tail end schedule is not good, so they would have to possibly win out their schedule. I don't think that's going to happen. South Carolina and LSU. LSU wins 20-10. LSU has not looked bad, but they've not looked good either. South Carolina, they've got a little work to do to possibly even make a bowl game. They're 3-3 right now, but they've got to work a little to make a bowl game, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I'll talk about the big controversy I had during the Georgia-Auburn game. It is one that very much annoyed me. It annoyed me so much because it's third down. I want to say it's 3rd and 10, and Auburn's noise is it's crammed in there. That place is just loud. Clock is running down. I think the play clock was to about 1 second. All of a sudden, timeout, Georgia. You see Kirby Smart calling timeout. Very clear. You see him calling timeout. Then all of a sudden, he turns around and says, No, I'm saying they're clapping. Dude, you're called timeout. There's video footage of you're running down the sideline saying, calling timeout. But then you're trying to lie and tell everyone saying that the defense was clapping, trying to get your guys to draw offsides to false start. The only guy that was clapping, you can go back and watch, is the safety, and he's clapping and pointing to trying to get the attention of one of his players. He's clapping, trying to get the attention of a linebacker or one of the guys up front to be like, look, right here, go right there. He's pointing and clapping. He's not, if it was a linebacker or a defensive lineman clapping, I would say, yeah, they were trying, but it's a safety that's 12 yards off the ball, nowhere near them. The offensive lineman's not going to hear him and false start, or anyone else is going to false start. No one else is. But Smart's trying to say, oh, I was saying he's clapping. The he was trying to draw my guys outside. Ain't no way you're gonna hear that. You hear clapping throughout that whole stadium. Everyone's freaking making noise. Everyone's clapping. They're shouting. They're doing whatever. It don't matter if it's coming from the defense or from the fans or from the sideline. There's clapping everywhere, dude. Don't act like you knew what you were talking about because you didn't get granted a timeout, and that's what ticked me off because he called timeout and then he argues with the refs, and then the refs don't grant him timeout. That game was very much swung in the favor after the fumble recovery on the goal line by Arnold. That game was swung in the favor of Georgia. The rest were in Georgia's back pockets. It was annoying to watch that game. It frustrated me. And I think Kirby Smart is an absolute jerk of a head coach. I don't like him. I know he's had good success there, but he is just an idiot. He's a jerk. I don't like him. And then goes on to even after the game to even lie in an interview. In the interview he lies. Like he called timeout. If you are even willing to say I didn't call timeout out on the field, and then even saying in the interview afterwards you didn't call timeout, we have the film, we have video evidence. You called timeout out, so you should just go ahead and admit you were calling timeout, not trying to lie to these refs, saying, "Oh no, I was trying to tell you they're clapping." No, you were calling timeout because the clock was running down. You're about to get a delay of game. You were trying to call timeout. I think the SEC should fine him for that personally, because first off, we have the footage. There's video footage. There's everything of him trying to call timeout. I think they should fine him for not allowing, granted a timeout, and the fact that he acted like an idiot trying to say everything and doubled down on the standards. I think they should fine him a little bit, but I don't think they will. So, yeah. And then I need to talk about this part because this is a little interesting that NCAA accepted last week. They accepted a proposal to allow these Division I athletes, no matter what, football, basketball, whatever, to be allowed to bet on programs. Now, it's not accepted. It's not a rule or implementation that's going to be accepted, but they're going to possibly be allowed to bet on games. And that draws a little bit of a problem because when these kids, because now these teams can go in and see what these players are betting on. If it gets accepted, they can see what they're betting on, and if they're betting on their team, they're betting on baseball, whatever they're betting on. If they bet on something, the team might be like, do I take it? Do I draft them? Now, I don't know what else stipulations and everything will be, but I don't like it that these kids are going to be allowed to bet because it causes a problem for when they want to go to the draft, when they want to go do something else that would imply them to be in the NFL. Because when you get to the pro level, you can't bet on the pro teams. Now, in college, that wouldn't be a problem, but when you get to the pros, you can't bet on your own sport. And if you get drafted by the NFL, you can't bet on the NFL. You get drafted by the NBA, you can't draft on the NBA. You get drafted by MLB, you can't bet on MLB. They would have to have stipulations on what they can and cannot bet. If not, these kids are going to be able to bet on NFL games. They're going to be able to bet on NBA, MLB. They're all going to be able to bet on anything and everything. And that could cause a big problem down the line. So I don't like that. I think it's something that needs to be looked at, and I just don't like that proposal. I don't like that they accepted it either because it's going to cause problems. Now let's get into NFL. The slate of games over the weekend were very crazy. Even stepping back to Thursday Night Football, Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo literally handed the Eagles the biggest loss I think they're going to get this year. They lost 34-17. The Eagles look like absolute trash when they are not doing anything but tush push, and I think tush push needs to be banned because every single time they ran it during that game on Thursday Night Football, it's false start by the right guard every freaking time. He's jumping forward. You could even if even they just did this, if they just would, I would say review it to see if there's false start, which I think they should do that, be allowed to do that for just that play, because the guards, the right guard, left guard, even sometimes tackle is jumping forward before the ball is even snapped, and it's becoming too noticeable every single time it happens. And I'm just sick of the Eagles running it in general too. So I'm hoping the NFL gets rid of it next year because it's getting too hard to, I would say, manage because of the false starts and everything else. Now, as well, during that game, Cam Scadaboo, that dude is an absolute dog. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. I think he shook off a couple times a concussion because every single time he gets up, he just shakes his head off like he just might have gotten a concussion and just goes to the sideline and then comes back out and just keeps running straight into every single player. The best play he had during that game was when he lifted one of the linebackers of the Eagles off the ground with a hit stick. That dude, who's an all-pro linebacker, mind you this, he made Zach, I want to say it's Bond or Braun, he full-on sent him flying. That is insane. And he could possibly have the next 5 years, there could be a bunch of white kids back playing running back. They're like his build and everything that could be making it to college or even the pro level because of what he's been able to do. He's just that good of a running back too. I think he might have CTE probably the next 5 years because I think he's going to have a concussion or two. But the dude is an absolute mini tank. He just plows through these guys like there's with no fear, no nothing. He's going to be absolutely a great running back for the Giants as long as he doesn't have a issue with concussions. That's the only problem that he would have. Now, Sunday, we had the London game. It was Denver versus Jets. Denver went 13-11. I just couldn't believe that's how that game ended because Denver should have been the better team. They said that in the game, they said Denver had been there since Monday, that after the game of the Eagles, they pretty much took a jet. Monday, they'd been there since pretty much Monday/Tuesday with the flight, depending on how long it was, from Philly to London. They were in Tottenham. So whatever the flight is to there, and plus us whatever, they were there. The Jets got there probably Tuesday or whenever because they were in MetLife. So I thought it would have been a little bit better game, but Jets looked horrible too. Let me just put that in perspective. The Jets looked horrible. Fields was sacked, I think, 9 times, and I think he had as many completions as he did sacks. And in the first half, he had more sacks than he did completions. He had, I think, 6 sacks and 3 completions. Did not look good. The receivers were mad. The whole team was mad, and I think the Jets have got to do something because they are winless right now. They have not won a single game. They're going to have the number 1 pick if they keep losing like this, and it's not going to be good for them. It's not. So they have got to do something to improve for sure. Now, the 1 o'clock slave games for the NFL were absolutely, I would say, good. Colts beat the Cardinals. We had such bad injuries to secondary. We should have won it more than 31-27. I think if we had at least 1 or 2 starting corners, we could have won that game by more. We allowed Jacoby Brissett to throw 44 times and literally pick us off one by one in the secondary. Our secondary was filled with practice squad members besides safeties. And it was not a good look. And as well, mainly because pre-game warm-ups, Ward and Ogletree, they collided. No helmets and everything, and Ward got a concussion. Second one in the first few weeks. It's not good look for Ward. Probably he will sit out a week or two. He won't sit out a week, but it's not good to have two concussions in the span of the first few weeks. Now, he hadn't had a concussion since week one. He was good from then. He didn't play the second week, but it's not good to have another one a couple weeks later because then there becomes a big problem with how how many reps and everything can he get before he if he gets third one, he's got to be shut down for the rest of the year and maybe his career as well. Thinking back to when Tua got back to back concussions in a span of 1 week, that wasn't good. But it's not good to have two concussions in a whole season as well. So that's something to be thinking about. And Anthony Richardson, don't know how it happened. Don't know how it happened, but he was doing band warm ups, and I don't know how that band came back and hit him enough in the eye to have an orbital fracture. But it's just weird that it happened. Don't know how it happened. It's just crazy that it happened. Just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what's going to happen. More than that, I'm assuming Riley Leonard's going to be the backup for a while. I'm assuming we have someone in the practice squad that they can sign up to be QB3 in case we need one. But for right now, I think Riley Leonard will be QB2 for a while until AR is healed from the orbital fracture, which it should be probably by December or something like that. It doesn't take that long for that type of injury to heal, but he won't be able to play pretty much until December, even if he were to play at all, would be like December. If then another good game, Chargers Dolphins. Chargers beat the Dolphins 29-27. Dolphins are looking like a very bad team. Tua even said a lot of these players, when they're having player-only meetings, are showing up late. They're doing them on Zoom. They're doing whatever. They're showing up late. They're just not wanting to be with the team. It sounds like this team has been very dysfunctional this year. Even after their first win versus the Jets, they have been very dysfunctional. McDaniels is probably going to get fired. I think he's a decent coach, but I think he's a better coordinator than he is head coach. I think he'll get fired after the season's over, maybe even next week, depending on how the season goes, but not looking good for the Dolphins. Chargers had problems too. They're going to need a running back because Omar Hampton went on IR, and you have Najee Harris, who's also on IR. So you have your two starting running backs on IR. They're going to need to make a trade for a running back if a team does need a certain running back. Excuse me. I think the Chargers get a running back. I don't know who they get, but they're going to need a running back for sure. Patriots handle business over the Saints. They win 25-18. I think the Saints are not a bad team. I think they've got something. It's just they have got to win somehow. Their defense is decent. Their offense is decent too. They just got to get a couple more wins to keep from having I would say, a locked-in top 3 pick in the draft. But I think it's going to happen no matter what. I don't know what they'll do with that first pick. It possibly could be a quarterback or possibly might be something else. I don't know. So that's something that we'll figure out if it comes to being them being top 5 pick, which I think they will. If they don't win a single game the rest of the year, it's just going to be an interesting year for the Saints for sure. This game was a very interesting game between Cleveland and Steelers. Excuse me. Steelers win 23-9. I don't understand this either for this game because Cleveland had Dylan Gabriel, their third-round pick quarterback, throw for 52 times and completed 29 of those times. He had 23 incomplete passes. I don't like it that he threw 52 times. I think if you wanted him to throw that many times, you have a problem with your run game. You have a problem with how you wanted to go attack this game. even if Flacco was still their starting quarterback, because they traded him last week to Cincy, I don't think you would even have Flacco throw 52 times in a game. I think that's absolute. What they did to him was bad. I wouldn't even meander the thought hey, Dylan, we're gonna make sure you throw 50 plus times this week because I think if you throw 52 times, we can beat the Steelers. It didn't. He could only muster up 9 points. I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback, but I'm just saying you make him throw 52 times. I know he didn't have an interception, but 52 times, no touchdown, no interception, not even grasping the end zone because he missed the guys when they were in that red zone. You gotta do something better than that because they probably would have been in the game with Steelers if they scored a touchdown with him throwing 52 times. You would have thought they would have scored maybe 3 touchdowns. No, he didn't even score 1. And it just looks really bad on his part. It looks bad on the offensive coordinator part. It looks bad on the head coach. Something's got to happen for next week's game for them that he does not throw 52 times. And if he does, I think you might have to yank him if he doesn't score a touchdown. Or even if he gets in the red zone, he just kicks field goals. Something's got to happen there because I think he's good, but it's a really bad look to have a rookie quarterback throw 52 times and not win the game. That's what I'm going to say. If he won the game by throwing 52 times, I'd say, oh, look, he did really well. Threw 52 times, won the game. He threw it 52 times and they lost. That's a bad look as a coaching staff. You don't want that to happen in general. This next game, I was really shocked by how the Panthers played versus Cowboys. The Panthers get a walk-off field goal, though, to win 30-27. Panthers, after their first week loss, they have bounced back to being they can win, maybe they lose, but they have bounced back entirely. This team looks like a good team. I don't think they're going to make playoffs, but they're not going to be in a top 10 pick unless they lose the rest of the year. But right now, they look like a team that could win some of these big games. Maybe they lose a game or two along the way, but I think they can beat some of these teams that no one thought they could have beat last year or even earlier this year. So be very much watching the Panthers and see how they do this year. And Bryce Young has improved too, I think, this year. He has improved. Now, one of the last few games as well during the slate, Seattle beats Jacksonville 20-12. Yeah. Jacksonville, they have their ups and they have their downs. I don't think Jacksonville is that good of a team. They should have lost to the Chiefs last week. The Chiefs messed up that game, but I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars are all that. I mean, they're 4-2 right now, but yeah, they just don't look like a functional defense. Their offense is a little, I would say, hazy depending on the defense they're playing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville maybe goes on a losing streak here soon. Yeah, this last game at the 1:00 slate, the Ravens are bad without Lamar. They lost 17-3 to the Rams. The Rams lose Nakua. I don't know how long he'll be out. But I will say this. The Ravens look horrendous without Lamar. They got stopped at the 1-yard line before halftime. They handed off to Henry, and Henry got blown up in the backfield with 2 seconds left. I was like, I get you have Cooper Rush as your starting quarterback, but what are you doing to lose 17-3? They probably would have lost 17-10, but you look horrible without Lamar. The Ravens are praying they get Lamar back in this week's game because you're going to want Lamar to be your starter no matter what, because I would be losing my mind if Cooper Rush is my starting quarterback this week. So that's how that game ended. The 4 o'clock games were very interesting. The Titans are worse than the Raiders. Honestly, I thought the Titans would beat the Raiders. No, the Titans are worse than the Raiders. Even though Geno is probably one of the worst quarterbacks right now starting in the NFL, the Titans just in general are just a bad team. And I think they will continue to be a terrible team until either coaching changes happen or a miracle win for them, because when they beat the Cardinals last week, that was just a miracle win because the Cardinals literally handed the ball to the Titans in the end of that game. The Bengals Packers game was very interesting. The Bengals try to come back in that game. They lose 27-18. The Packers did well. Flacco did decent, but the Packers defense is a very big problem. They have got to do. They've got to make, I think, another move for their defense. I think if they get maybe somebody, they can help them out a little, because it has been bad for the Packers defense this year. Of course, they've done decent in some games, but they looked really bad, because you should have not allowed Cincy to even grasp the end zone the amount of times they did, and still they kept him to 18 points, but you should have won that game bigger, because Flacco looked like he was back in his prime with that offensive line for the Bengals. That offensive line for the Bengals is trash. You should have got to him so many times in that second half. It's like the Bengals finally were like, oh, we know how to protect our quarterback. Or the Packers D-line just is trash as well. That's a thing too. But Packers still get the win. Their offense does what they needed to do, and that happens. Tampa Bay, they still look good, even though they are down their whole entire starting wide receiver core. And they beat the Niners 30-19. The Niners are just plagued with injuries. I don't want to say there's not a season worth saving, but they have lost so many weapons on offense. They lost so many guys. They lost a big name on defense this week. Fred Warner, he's out for the rest of the year with an ankle injury. It's not looking good for the Niners. I mean, even if you could muster up a couple wins to make the playoffs, I don't even think you would win a game in the playoffs if you lose a couple more key pieces on defense and offense. The injuries are just piling it up, and for the injuries to be piling up this early, especially season-ending ones, it's not good. Exact same thing with the Colts, with some of the injuries to our secondary, especially the cornerback position. It's not been good. So we'll see how the Niners season goes. We'll see how Tampa season goes, but it's going to be a while for some of these teams to get back to being on track with the amount of injuries. Sunday Night Football was insane, though. Chiefs win 30-17. 30-17. I think the Lions look bad. And not because they put up 17 points, but mainly because there were chances they had to do certain things in that game. Mainly, their first drive, I have no idea what the play was supposed to be, besides a Goff lines up under center, motions out, catches the ball, touchdown. And the rule is, this is a rule that's been in place, and people are going to be like, no, it's a rule that's made for Chiefs. No, that if you line us up under center and then motion out, you've got to stop for a second. He didn't stop at all. He kept jogging, and then turns right as soon as the ball is snapped to catch it and score. Honestly, he should have known this. You got to look at the rules. Anybody knows it's a play that happens, because it's different when you motion in to be under center, but when you're under center and then catch the ball, I mean, if you look at like the Philly special and everything, how Foles does it, he motions out from being under center, stops, and then goes. Goff just kept moving in motion, didn't never stopped. He needed to stop for a quick second, and I wouldn't say line up, but kind of like quickly stop and look back to make sure the ball was snapped. He just keeps motioning, and then the ball is snapped, and he looks back. He didn't have that whole second stop, get planted, or even I would say he's gonna be motioning still or whatever, but he needed to at least stop for one quick second. And I I think Mahomes looked decent this game. I think the Chiefs might be able to do something now. Does that mean they're gonna make the playoffs? I don't know. I don't know if they could come back and win the division. Maybe I don't know. But one of the things that happened at the end of that game, I find it a little crazy too. After it was over, Mahomes went to go shake Brian Branch's hand. I guess also earlier in the game, Branch got taunted by Mahomes after he scored a touchdown. But, the Lions have beaten the Chiefs the past few times they played them. So, I get the little bit of bad blood, but then it's like, as well, show some sportsmanship. But Branch doesn't shake Mahomes' hand. Juju, he's in the backfield behind Mahomes. He's like the wide receiver back there. And he sees it, and it's like, he's kind of like, come on, man. Show a little respect. And he puts his hand out to shake Branch's hand. And then Branch grabs Juju's face mask, throws him back, kind of like a punch, or I wouldn't say it's a punch, but he kind of does. And then a brawl ensues because of that, because it's not something you kind of do, but you got to show sportsmanship no matter what, even if you lose. And Branch, coming from Bama, mind you that, where he was under Saban, it's not a good look for somebody who comes out of school where your former head coach was a very much prominent guy, that I wouldn't be surprised if Branch got maybe a phone call from Saban either Monday or even after the game Sunday night, if Saban was out watching the game, and probably being like, what the heck did you just do? I've coached you better than that. No matter what, even if you win or lose, show a little respect. Because I remember in his final season as coaching, when they beat Texas, he literally told them not to do the horns down, because he wants to show respect, sportsmanship. When you come from a school where your head coach, it was predominantly talked about sportsmanship, show sportsmanship no matter what. No matter who you win against, who you lose against, show sportsmanship. It's disrespectful in the sports world, especially football, to not show sportsmanship. And Campbell wasn't happy either, and I think Branch could lose, a little bit of a starting role after what happened to the game, but Branch is probably going to get a suspension. I'm not sure it will be how long it'll be. It'll probably be one game. It'll be a fine. Juju is probably going to get a fine. I don't know if he'll get a suspension. He might, but show sportsmanship no matter what. No matter in the face of a win or loss, show sportsmanship. If you don't like the team, show sportsmanship no matter what. That is something that needs to be preached from the elementary level to even pro level still. Show sportsmanship. Doesn't matter who it is, show sportsmanship. Now, Monday Night Football is going to be a couple good games. Bills, Falcons could be a very interesting game to watch. I don't know. Falcons could beat Bills. The Bills could lose, could win. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. The first one, it's going to be that game's at 7:15. Bears Commanders is 8:15 an hour later. If I were to choose for these two games who I pick to win, give me the Bills for the first game. I feel like the Bills can win. And then Bears Commanders, give me Daniels and the Commanders. I think Jane Daniels is a good quarterback. I think he's phenomenal. I think he is actually better than Caleb Williams from that draft class. I think Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, he's good. Jaden Daniels is 100% better than him, hands down, so much better. And I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback in the NFL. Now we have to talk about the upcoming schedules for the weekend of college football. Oh, so you're going to have games pretty much stemming from Tuesday to Saturday. Tuesday matchups are just the lower ranked schools. Nothing is going to be interesting there. Wednesday, lower ranked schools. Thursday as well, lower rank. Friday, there's going to be two interesting games on Friday, October 17th. Louisville at Miami. Now, Louisville's not that great of a team, but they're going to Miami. I honestly think if this was a game where Miami possibly gets upsetted before they make the playoffs, it is this game. Louisville is a team to watch out for, maybe on an upset watch this week. If they do that, if they upset, Miami's going to lose their mind because Louisville has, in the ACC these past few years, has been a team that they could upset a bigger school when the bigger school's not expecting it, especially on the road. Now, what happened? I don't know, but it's a potential thing to watch. Nebraska and Minnesota, as well as going to be that Friday, should be a good game to watch. I would watch to see if Nebraska beats Minnesota or Minnesota upsets Nebraska. And Nebraska is a top 25 team. They're number 25. Could be an interesting game. Now, the noon slate for Saturday, the 18th, some decent games. LSU versus Vanderbilt is going to be the main game to watch at noon. LSU is going to be at Vandy. Vandy might upset LSU unless LSU decides to absolutely go in there and destroy them. But I think that could be an upset there too. Should be interesting. But I honestly think LSU will win. So that's going to be an interesting game to watch. Georgia Tech, Duke. Like I've preached about Georgia Tech this year. Good team. Don't be surprised if Georgia Tech wins that game. Going to be a good game for that. Washington, Michigan. Michigan. There's no even second doubt about that. Washington, they're good, but you're going to be at Michigan. So give me Michigan. Baylor and TCU should be a good game. Give me TCU for that game. Shouldn't be any trouble for TCU that game. Oklahoma, South Carolina. Honestly, how bad Oklahoma played in the previous week, give me South Carolina. I don't think Oklahoma can. I don't know if South Carolina could match them, but I feel like South Carolina could. So that will be interesting. Purdue will play Northwestern at 3 o'clock. We'll go into 3 o'clock slate. Just remember, Northwestern just beat Penn State. I know they were unranked, but it kind of feels like an upset. I think with Purdue going Northwestern could beat Purdue. I honestly think that's going to happen. So give me Northwestern for that. Ohio State and Wisconsin. I think Ohio State cleans that game easily. Wisconsin's not been that good this year. I thought they would have rebounded or something, but it's not looking good for Wisconsin's season this year. So I think Ohio State wins that game easily. IU plays Michigan State. I think IU could wipe the floor with Michigan State. I 100% believe they can after what they did to Oregon. I don't think they're going to get upsetted. I think IU just honestly handles Michigan State easily. I think that's what's going to happen. Now, this main game at 3:30, Ole Miss, Georgia. Ole Miss is going to Georgia. I think Ole Miss gets the win in Georgia, mainly because I don't trust Georgia at all. I think Ole Miss has, a slightly better team than them, and I think they will do great. Now, we'll see what happens during that game, but that's going to be the main 3:30 game to watch is Ole Miss, Georgia. A number 5 seed versus the number 9 seed. We'll see who wins that one, but it's probably going to be Ole Miss. Now we get into, this 4 o'clock game. Texas Tech Arizona State. Texas Tech's going to be at Arizona State. Give me Arizona State to upset Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech has the better. I think Arizona State has a better team than Texas Tech, but we'll see what happens during that game. Could be interesting. Now we get into the 7 o'clock slate of games, which these are going to be kind of boring games. There's not going to be, I would say, a very fantastic game. You got Tennessee Bama. Should be the one of the best matches that night. Tennessee's going to be at Bama, so Bama's going to win that game because Bama's at home. They're not at Tennessee. When Bama's at home, don't go against Bama for sure. USC at Notre Dame. I think it's a 50-50. USC has a explosive team. They can get up and down the field fast. They can do whatever. I just think USC could win it. Maybe Notre Dame wins it. I think that's a toss-up game for sure. I think you look at both teams and you go, who's going to have the better chance? I think USC has a better chance. I think Notre Dame does. It's a toss-up game for sure. But I feel like USC can win it, but as well as I feel like Notre Dame's going to win it because Notre Dame's at home. USC normally doesn't play well at Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame wins it. One of the better games to end the night, too, if you want to watch this game, it's at 8 o'clock. It's Utah BYU. Utah, I think, wins it. I think they upset BYU. I don't think BYU is going to expect it. So, yeah, I would say that is one of the better games to watch at 8 o'clock if you don't want to watch any of the 7 o'clock games. And then NFL for final week this week, for week 7. Thursday night football, Pittsburgh, Cincy. Pittsburgh, I think, wins it, so give me Steelers. Rams and Jags are going to be in London. Jaguars have had one of the best records when playing in London. So I would say give me the Jags, but I think the Rams have the better team, and they were in Baltimore, so they don't have to fly that far to go as well to London. I think both teams will probably be in London early. They're going to be playing Wembley Stadium, so I think Rams win, but the Jags, don't be surprised if they have a good push during that game. There's some decent games at 1. I think Chicago will beat the Saints at 1 o'clock. Dolphins and Cleveland. Dolphins, I think, could beat Cleveland. I don't know if Dylan Gabriel is going to play well, but Dolphins. The Chiefs and Raiders normally is a good game, but I think the Chiefs are just going to beat the Raiders because I don't think Geno could beat the Chiefs. That's just my personal opinion. Philly, Minnesota. Depending on who's starting quarterback for Minnesota, I think Minnesota can win. Excuse me, but I think Philly's going to win that game unless Minnesota has McCarthy starting, or even if Wentz starts, I just think McCarthy would do better versus Philly, just based on how he's played, and Minnesota as well has been wishy-washy. So we'll see. Giants and Denver play at 4 o'clock. Give me, I really want to go Giants. Yeah, give me the Giants. I think the Giants pull off the win there. Colts at Chargers. Give me the Chargers. I don't think the Colts can pull off the win unless they get some secondary help. They should have Kenny Moore back, but we're going to need more than Kenny Moore to be on their best wide receivers. So give me the Chargers. Chargers as well will be down. They're down to like practice squad level running backs, but I feel like the Chargers will win it. Commanders, Cowboys, always one of the biggest games to watch. I think Commanders might mop the floor with the Cowboys. Packers, Cardinals. Packers, I mean, it's also going to depend on how the Packers defense is going to hold up. Their defense has got to hold up more. So we'll see how that goes. Sunday Night Football is going to be trash. Falcons. Give me the Falcons for that one. And then the Monday Night Football matchups will be between Tampa and Detroit and Houston and Seattle. First game, Tampa, I think, gets the dub over Detroit. And then I think Seattle beats Houston. So yeah, that's how I think the season's gonna go next week. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll end this here in just a second. Well, I'll let you all have a great day. So we end it here with a prayer. So thank you, Jesus, for this day. Thank you for this episode. Allow this season of me doing this is to continue. I very much love doing this. I hope people get to learn a little, know a little, and spread a little happiness every single time, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you all for watching.